Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show, your one-stop destination for intriguing conversations with extraordinary individuals who are boldly navigating life outside the conventional norms. Our host, Scott Fullerton, is thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with all of you. The Left of Str8 Show, we believe that every person's story is unique, and it's our mission to showcase the diversity of human experiences. We bring you the untold stories of fascinating people who identify as LGBT+ and allies, pushing boundaries, breaking stereotypes, and making a positive impact in our communities. On this show, we bring you a diverse lineup of inspiring guests, from activists to artists, and entrepreneurs to entertainers, and everything in between. We dive deep into their personal journeys, discovering the pivotal moment that has shaped their lives and careers. You can expect thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of topics, from LGBTQ rights, social justice to arts, culture, mental health, and more. Our guests are change makers who share their insights, challenges, and triumphs, igniting conversation that promotes empathy, understanding, and love. So whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or an ally looking to expand your knowledge and show your support, the Left of Str8 Show is for you. Together, we can build bridges of understanding and acceptance, celebrating the beauty of what makes us all unique. So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for the show.
Alrighty, welcome back, my lovely listeners of the Left of Str8 Show. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton. I love bringing you interviews with great celebrities and personalities from entertainment, foodies, music, books, and advocacy for our LGBTQ community and straight allies. Today, I'm so happy to have a returning guest with me. James Duke Mason is here. We haven't talked in a hot minute. I think it was like in the pandemic of April of 2020. But of course, with social media friends, we kind of keep in touch. I'm a huge fan of his activism and his voice and writing and interviews, so I'm so happy to have him back on the show. Duke combines his activism, talent, and advocacy for our LGBTQ community. Also, his state and community he gives back to so much. Of course, he's the son of the iconic singer Belinda Carlisle and film producer Morgan Mason, and grandson to the great James Mason. But Duke has carved his own path as a casual actor and producer, an LGBT advocate, and a political force in his area there. His commitment to the LGBTQ community is inspiring, making him a beacon of hope for our younger generation. So let's get on with the show. For the handsome and fierce, Mr. James Duke Mason is here. How's it going, buddy?
Really good. I'm happy to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. It's been a while. We had a little pandemic go through it. I took a year off for the pandemic. Then it took me another year to get my happy butt motivated again to do these things. I don't know how you are. You've taken a little time off from Dukes, but it's kind of hard to get back started again, right?
It is, yeah. And especially when you're dealing with, when things feel as they did, especially during the pandemic, so just dark and weird. And I think it's hard to find that fire within you to like get to, so I've gone through periods of that myself. And that, as we'll discuss, I'm sort of coming out of one of those myself at the moment. But it's a great feeling when you do get yourself back on the wagon, because it's fun to do, It
is. It's a lot of fun to do. You meet some great, interesting people. You learn things all the time. So, yeah, it is fun, but it takes a hot minute to get you back. And I understand where you're coming from. We'll talk about it a little more later, but I've gone through kind of the same bouts of things. I think I caught you a couple of weeks ago. You were on the way with your parents to Mexico. How was that trip? Is that a nice relaxation time?
It was great, and it was a great reset opportunity. I came back feeling excited and motivated, and obviously Puerto Vallarta is for a bunch of reasons is one of my favorite places.
Right?
And it's kind of perfect because it's I get to spend time with my parents who loved it there, for their own reasons, but then also, of course, there's the gay community there, so I still got to go out and be social and meet people, and it was great. It was beautiful, great weather. So I came back to LA, feeling fresh and ready to get working on some new projects.
That's awesome. Now, your parents are so supportive of you coming out. Your mom's done a lot of things. Your dad's been there for you. How is it, though, in those kind of situations where you're going out to a club and you might have to bring back a friend? How are they on the dating situation?
Well, thankfully, I had my own hotel room.
You need that. You have to.
I wasn't really there for that. I actually had a friend who I met there when I was there a few years ago, who's from the area, who's Mexican, who who's a knows the area very well. So he was a good person to go out with, and knows other people there, and knows some of the bar and club owners. So it made it easy, and he was fun company. So it was more more that. But for sure, my mom and dad, I've been out since I was 14. So
Right.
they've met several people that I've dated in the past, and they've always been very cool about it.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to spend too much time talking about your family because I know everyone does that. If they can go listen to our old interview. But your mom has had such a huge year. I mean, I tried to, we kind of missed touch when you guys were coming to, because I'm an hour away from Cleveland. I wanted to hit you guys when you're at the Hall of Fame and take you out to one of the clubs down there. But from the Hall of Fame induction to a new album to all this great music, is this, I mean, she loved being outside the country. Is this work for her, or has this been fun for her this past year?
It's been fun, I think, primarily for her. I mean, of course, there were things that I wanted her to do or that I thought she should do that she didn't want to do in terms of promotion and all that. But look, it did really well. It's done really well. In fact, oddly enough, even though she's done zero promotion for it recently, I think she last did like real promo for it 2 or 3 months ago. But oddly, I guess mainly because of the vinyl and CD releases of the EP that finally came out like a week or two ago, the single "If You Go" is actually just now charting on the adult contemporary chart. It's the first time she's charted on one of the main Billboard charts since 1991.
Well,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, I mean it's
Good for
in the
her.
top 30, I think, on adult contemporary, which is pretty great considering there's literally zero promotion going on right now. So if I had it my way, I would have her on every talk show and doing the iHeart whatever radio music awards or whatever. But I kind of respect the fact that she doesn't really care about promoting herself or her ego or whatever. She did it because she really loved the songs and she
Right.
loved working with Diane Warren. And I think regardless of whether it gets to the top 10 or any of that kind of stuff, just the fact that she had the opportunity to put out this great piece of work is in itself fantastic. So
Yeah, I mean, she's been there, done that, all that too. I mean, Go-Go's went through all that. I'm sure it's like, I don't need to go through that again. I know what it's like and I know what I can do, and to hell with that, right?
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
look,
like,
she and I have obviously we've talked about this. She and I have different we're in different places in our lives. Like for me, if I had that kind of opportunity, I'd be out there like promoting the hell out of it. But again, as you just said, she was in my shoes 35 years ago. So I understand that her priorities are different. I'm just happy that it was I think it was a really fun process for her, and I think she got I one of the best most sort of touching things that I read or heard during that whole process when the EP came out is NPR did a segment on her, and they said, I forgot exactly the exact wording, but the host said something like, um, Belinda has always been underrated, and I'm so happy that this is serving as an opportunity for her to re-enter the conversation and sort of. It was just, I don't know, it was so nice and gratifying that she finally is getting sort of the recognition and the sort of, the she's getting she's this will help cement her legacy essentially,
right.
is what I hope. And I think that's happening. So
And it's got to kind of be fun for the two of you. I mean, she's obviously proud of you and all the things you've done for your community and political wise, everything. And it gives you a chance to be proud of her in a whole new light again, right? For the
Oh yeah.
stuff she's doing. So that had to be kind of a fun part of the relationship again as well.
Oh yeah, one of the most amazing moments was when I was on set with her when she was recording the music video for "Gonna Be You," which is the song that Diane Warren wrote for the "80 for Brady" soundtrack. Sadly, my mom didn't shoot it in person with Dolly Parton and Cyndi Lauper and Gloria Estefan, but just the fact that I was there on the set with her, and they gave her like a Patriots jersey with her name on the back, with Carlisle on the back to shoot for the video, and just hearing Dolly's voice and them sing together, I was like, I felt really, I just felt like it was a really great moment where it's like, okay, she's finally in the right, sort of level of company,
Right.
that she was being not elevated, but being cemented as being in that same sort of level of icon status was it was a pretty powerful, touching moment as a son to be a part of,
I bet. That is so awesome. One of the things I love about you, Duke, especially in your social media, is you're so praiseworthy of your friends. You make sure that you let them know how you're feeling about them. I mean, I appreciate so much introducing me to Fred Karger. I mean, I had him on back when you were on. I've had him since for Party Crashers not too long ago, earlier in the year. I saw you were in his place for Labor Day. I love that he hasn't sold the Newport place because he promised me I could go there sometime. It's like when I heard it was up for sale, it's like, Fred, no, I haven't been out there yet. Wait a
Now,
second. But
I said the exact same thing. Trust me. I was like, because I had been a while since I'd been out to stay with him, and I was like, please do not sell it before I get a chance to come back. But luckily, at least as far as I'm concerned, luckily I don't think he is going to sell it. I think he's decided to keep it. So at least a few more summers in Laguna Beach, hopefully.
right. I love that. Yeah, that's what. When as soon as he said he took it off the market. It's like
Yeah.
I'm very sad if it's a bad housing market. I'm very excited for next time I come out if we can make it down there.
Oh
That's
yeah.
one of my
Yeah,
favorite areas. I love
at the same time. That would be fun.
Balboa Island, Newport
Got
Beach.
two
That's one of
guests
my
right
favorite
now.
hangouts.
Say that again.
I said Balboa Island and Newport Beach were one of my favorite hangouts when I lived in Southern California. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, I love that area.
that's been actually a good deal, a good amount of, especially July 4th weekends, but in Laguna Beach, and they actually have a great new gay club down there called Strut, which a friend of mine, Luke Nero, opened. He was a big promoter here in LA, and then he just moved down to Orange County and opened. I think it's the only gay bar, like official gay club in Orange County, and it's great. It's really fun. So
Nice. I'm so
yes.
old. I used to go to the Boom Boom Room over there and
See, I
back.
never got to go, which is such a shame because, of course, Fred was, he was involved in trying to save it when it closed, I think about
Right.
15, 16 years ago. But I was slightly before my time. There are a few places that I wish I'd gotten the chance to see, the close right before I sort of was old enough to explore that,
Right.
that type of establishment. So,
I got about 10 or 20 years on you. So, yeah, I remember it well going down there back in the day when I lived there. Um, Also, let's talk about, I mean, you live in West Hollywood there. We've had a lot of stuff in the news about the Abbey and stuff. I see you have a cocktail there from time to time. What's the kind of state of gay in West Hollywood right now? We lost Pump. We got the Abbey maybe up for sale. Where are the gays going? Are we stuck with Mickey's all the time, or what's happening there?
well, I was at Mickey's the other night, but no, it's weird because in some ways it's good. I mean, I have to say, actually, I was shocked by the fact that after COVID, you know, was responsible for closing down a lot of a few of the big gay clubs here in WeHo. Rage closed, Flaming Saddles closed. But actually, what happened was there a few new places actually opened in the meantime in those spaces. So like where Rage was, Heart opened, which is a new club here, which is great. I mean, there are a few new places. So in some ways, my fears about what might happen were relieved. But on the other hand, there are a lot of issues right now in terms of, I would say, like crime is a big problem, which I know it is in a lot of major cities around the country. I think a lot of small businesses have closed down because of the increase in just the cost of operating, doing business. Homelessness is obviously a big issue, which ties in with the crime issue. I mean, in some ways, I would say it's a resilient town, and a lot of these small businesses, are resilient, and new businesses have opened. But like there, even in the meantime, even while new businesses are opening, there are other. I mean, it's just I would say there's a battle going on right now, because it's like, on the one hand, people want to be here, people want to open new businesses, but there are also a lot of factors that I think are working against them. So it's I not to go too far into the weeds on local politics, but I've had some disagreements with some of the current decisions that the city council is making here. I don't know if I'm going to run for city council again, but I definitely, if I were on the city council right now, I would definitely try to be a focus more on how we can solve some of the issues that make it hard to do business here in the city.
That's one of the things I love about you too, is you're very honest and open. I mean, we come from an LGBTQ perspective, we come from a liberal perspective usually,
Right.
but you got to call a spade, right? With the homelessness and the crime and people breaking into buildings, and you call people out for that, which I like. I think that, I mean, when we first talked, you had just finished thinking about running for council at the time, and I'd love to see you go back into that. But we're both political junkies, but I think you need to be very honest with people. I think that's what does it. I mean, you work for Rick Caruso. I mean, I love Karen Black. That's fine. She was historic in a lot of ways. But Rick Caruso had that business background and was going to address a lot of the issues. Talk about, I mean, and that was for me, because like I said, I follow you quite a bit and everything, and I know you kind of, from the time you gave him that tour to the LGBT center, you came on board his campaign pretty quickly. What was it about him in that short period of time that kind of cemented you like this could be the guy?
Well, I knew that I was going to get a lot of flack for it because, of course, and I understand why people were skeptical. I would always tell people, I totally understand why, especially if you don't have the kind of personal relationship and interactions that I had with Rick. I understand why someone would say that a straight, white, 60-something-year-old multi-billionaire does not represent my worldview. I totally get that. And, I actually, was just like you said, I was a fan of Karen Bass. I had dinner with her, a few years ago. I really liked her. There are a lot of things about her that I think were great and are great. And in fact, I would have been very happy if she had been, appointed to be the new senator from California. I think as a legislator, she was, has always done a really good job. I think, the reason why I thought Rick would be the right choice for LA at this particular moment is, the perfect example, sort of encapsulation, was when I took him on the tour of the LGBT Center here in LA. I introduced him to the people that run it, and we had a sit-down meeting, and he said to them, so, are you getting the type of actual, whether it's funding or resources or support that you need from the city government? And this, I guess this is I probably shouldn't be saying this. It was an off the record meeting, but at this point, who cares? But the CEO said, no, we have a lot of politicians, so-called progressive politicians who may say the right thing, but when it comes down to actually delivering what we want and need, they usually fall short. And Rick said, look, I may not be, always, the wokest, seemingly wokest guy. I know I'm a little old school, but he said, I promise you, even if I may not always say the right thing or use the right word, I unlike these, typical politicians, I will deliver, and I actually will, come through for your community. And sure enough, after the election, even though he didn't win, I had a meeting with him a couple months after the election, just to catch up, and he said that he had lunch or dinner or a meeting with the CEO, a second meeting, and that he had pledged to support them financially. So whether he won or not, I think that was an example of like this guy. For me, knowing the guy and having had a pretty good amount of time with him and getting to talk to him and really get to know him, he's the real deal. I mean, he's not. Yeah, I think a lot of people thought, oh, he's an old rich guy. That means he's like Donald Trump 2.0. But the truth is, he's nothing like Donald Trump. He's always been pro-gay. Was pro-choice for many, or has been pro-choice going back on the record, going back to like 20 years ago. Has always was always more of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type Republican. He never was a right winger. But I think I understand a lot of people were a little bit apprehensive, which I don't blame them for. I think it's I just people are wary of just supporting Republicans, given everything that's going on now. And even though Rick was a former Republican, I understand why people would be a little reluctant.
I mean, like I said, I'm a little older than you. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, but I'm thinking on independency more and more these days, just because of all the issues that are out there. And we're going to talk about Duke Download coming back in a bit. One of your first articles you wrote about was the CARE Act with Newsom, because he hasn't always been my favorite guy in things he's done in California. But it's like, I think there's some things that he's done as well. I think his appointment of the senator was actually pretty smart, not to put his finger on the scale for a lot of people that are running right now. What do you think about that issue as well?
Well, what's interesting is, see, I thought, and I mean, I still think, it seems like it was a great choice. I mean, she's a lesbian, African American woman, very obviously, from what I've read, very qualified. What's interesting though is I also assumed that she was chosen because she was not going to be a candidate. It turns out, from what I'm reading today, that she actually may be a candidate, which is interesting and that Newsom did not ask her not to run or did not make that a precondition, which I think is interesting because I thought the whole point of it was that she would be a caretaker, appointment until whoever wins the next election gets picked. And I actually already endorsed and am supporting Adam Schiff. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if she's actually announced whether she will run or not. I think maybe she will announce that she's not running for the seat. But maybe he's just giving her the opportunity to make that announcement or that decision herself. But from what Newsom has said, he has not discussed with her whether or not she's going to run. So, but in terms of just the for this next year, I think seems like she was a great choice and obviously a historic choice too.
And very qualified, I think. I liked her qualification. So yeah, I agree.
She ran
and who knows what's
a great organization, and I think she ran the SEIU, which is a big union here in California. So yeah, I think she seems great on a lot of levels.
Very, very cool. Well, let's kind of transition back into starting Duke Downloads again. Like I said, I was a huge fan of it. I love your writing's been going on for a long time before you started your interviews. I think you have a very kind of astute way of looking at things. I've always loved and enjoyed reading your articles. You announced the other day you're going to bring back both writing on your Substack and doing the interviews. But you were very honest. And we talked about that a second ago. It's like you needed some time off. You needed some me time. You needed to kind of get yourself back together. Talk about that journey. What have you kind of learned about yourself and where you're hoping to go? How is that going to inform your way forward now?
Well, I was a little undecided on how open I should be because I mean, look, I'm very happy in general. Like I have a great life, and I don't want to be like and I know might be a controversial reference point, but like Prince Harry, woe is me, I'm such a victim. My life is so horrible. When in all, things are actually pretty great in my life, and I'm very grateful for all the great opportunities and privileges and all the things that I do have. and all the great friends and family and all that. But I've struggled with anxiety. At times it's pretty severe for a long time. I've had. I mean, this is all self-diagnosed, but I've gone to therapy. I've had I think issues with OCD and with all sorts of things. Just me, and also I had two actually really bad breakups in the last year that and it wasn't just the breakup part. It was also more just the fact that it sort of it tied in with some of the other issues I was dealing with in terms of overthinking and anxiety and all sorts of things. And so I mean, I just think it really got me down there for a little while. And I just, and also figuring out my next steps professionally, whether I wanted to go back to writing, if I wanted to go work for another campaign, if everything felt a little bit kind of up in the air, at that, for a little while there. And I mean, I was fine. I wasn't like, I don't want to overstate, that like I was, I don't want to be glib about it either. It's not like, what I'm trying to say is it's not like I was, very, very bad, if you know what I mean. I just was
Right, sure.
bad, and I just needed some time to like really evaluate things. But thankfully, I think I'm beginning to find my footing again, and so I'm excited to delve back into it.
That's awesome. And it's very easy. I'm the same way. I kind of have my own self-diagnosed OCD. I go through bouts of depression. I think it's easy too when things are going so well and one thing messes up, like you have a really bad breakup or something like that. It kind of spirals the whole thing all out of control. I
That was
mean,
the thing.
especially when everything else is going so well, you think,
Yeah.
why isn't this part going well, right?
And also, yeah, I mean, 100%. Like the last breakup it sort of was the first domino that sort of fell, and then when one thing feels like it's out of order, then everything else starts feeling out of order. And you try your best to prevent that from happening, but sometimes it's hard to focus on the things you need to focus on when you wish something else had gone a different way, or it's a tough it's tough sometimes. I don't know. I mean, again, this is all the anxiety disorder part, if I'm going to be fully honest, I actually have been diagnosed with. But, I mean, that's a fairly common thing, I think, these days. I think I had depressive moments, but I've never been diagnosed with that. I just know that anxiety, can be pretty debilitating, and that, it can definitely lead you to feel, depressed or feel, and I want to make, it clear. I'm making a distinction between clinical depression, which is obviously I know is a serious thing. But I definitely had some rough moments for sure.
Well, we all have, and when we get through them, it's a big relief, right? And you kind of just learn from them and do the best you can. I mean, that's all we can do is just do the best we can. So
Absolutely, and I
I
think
like that we can acknowledge it, that we can live through it, and then we can hopefully move on and try something again and get back to our life choices. Like I said, when I took my 2 years off this, I was a little depressed. Like I said, it's not clinical depression. It's not the end of the world, but it's like COVID was going on. Nothing's really happening in my life, but I don't know if I have the energy to really do this again. But I really miss it, right? So now I came back to it, and
that
I'm
would
loving
when
it
you
every
do it.
second.
And when you do it, like, I mean, even just yesterday, I posted my first articles back, and even just in a little way, having that response and that feedback and that sort of it motivates you to want to do more. You just have to get started, and once you have some momentum, it makes it a lot easier.
Exactly.
And I also think, I know we only have a certain amount of time, but I will say, thank you for acknowledging that about me being trying to be outwardly. It's not even that I try to do it, but like, especially because of what I went through earlier this year, for whatever reason, I've become much more. I mean, I was always pretty affectionate and open, about my emotions and whatever. But when you go through a period of angst or whatever, or emotional just pain or distress or whatever it may be, at least for me, I became a lot more emotive and a lot more open with my, communication with my friends and those around me that I do, have that kind of. And so for me, like, you become extra, where you want to let those people know that have been there for you through that kind of period. You want to let them know that you appreciate it. And, and I think in general, whether it's a close friend or just someone you're talking to on, someone that reads an article, whatever, I've just become, I'm very, I'm all about having real connections with people now, and not that I wasn't before, but especially now. So I definitely plan on maybe perhaps being a little more, even more, even more personal and even more intimate in my writing and my social media than I even was before. Because I think we all need to. The last couple of years has not been easy, so I think letting people know that it's okay to express that and express what they're feeling, I think is important.
Well, we were talking off air, and I think it's very important to start to get rid of some of the expectations, right? Who cares how many likes things have? Who cares what other people are thinking? It's time to do what's important to us and what makes us feel good, right?
Yeah.
And so this podcast has had its ups and downs. I've had 40,000 listeners. I've had 4,000 listeners when I came back after 2 years off. That doesn't matter to me. It's that I'm learning something from my guests, that I'm hopefully giving something to my listeners by either a fun, entertaining interview or they learn something they haven't. And those are the things that kind of have to start being important, right?
Yep.
And it's a tough lesson to learn, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even pay attention to my followers anymore. I mean, there was a period there where because I was trying to build, especially when I did do my Instagram live interviews before, I would be like, oh, I want to get to 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever. And now I'm just like, I don't think I've even looked in weeks. I mean, of course I see when I log on, but in terms of like, oh, I'm this far away from, however many, I don't, I, I don't pay attention to that anymore. I'm like, I just want to, what matters to me and I know it sounds corny, but is just having a feeling connected to people,
There you go.
and I think that's, I think during COVID, we all learned like, that those connections, whether it be in person or virtual or whatever, those connections matter, they
Right.
really do.
And you talked about your Instagram interviews. I love that that's coming back as well. The thing I loved about it the most is the diversity. You're kind of like me, people that interest you and have a good voice. You've done anything from Governor Polis to Nina West to controversial Paris Hilton to all sorts of different people, which I love. Stephen Fry, we talked about
Funny,
off air. I'm a
it's
huge
funny you bring
fan
up
of.
Perez Hilton because I I was actually thinking about that interview earlier today because I'm about to have somebody who I think I haven't 100% confirmed him yet, but I'm about to have somebody who I don't know if he's particularly controversial over here in the States, but I know in England he's a very polarizing figure. And so I'm like, I don't like, is this going to be another Perez Hilton? Because that interview was definitely got me some I mean again I know Mario, he's always been very nice to me and it's very complimentary and supportive of my mom, so but that definitely got some mixed feedback. Let's put it that
Same. I've had him on twice, and same thing. It's like I think he's a voice. He does have a voice. I don't always agree with him, but he has a voice and he has
way.
opinions on things. So I have
Yeah.
no problem bringing him on. I'm excited to see who you bring on next. Who is one of your most surprising interviews? Maybe you did 50 of them. Did you have anyone that kind of surprised you the way it went, or just their personality?
That's a good question. Uh, I mean, I'll tell you what's funny is some of the people that I didn't know at all, like for instance, I'd never even spoken to or communicated with Andrew Yang, and I had no relationship with him or no. Yeah, to be honest, I was very surprised that he agreed to do it. But just because again, he was very different than most of my guests. I mean, obviously, he's not gay. He's not, I mean, it just there was no reason for him to do it, and I mean, we did have a mutual friend or family connection, but still, like, the fact that someone who I didn't know who agreed to come on, just no preconditions, just, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And he was very, very, very sweet and very, took the time, was very, engaging. And so that one was a surprise just because, but then there are other, I won't name names, but then there are other people who, I was surprised didn't do it, or even if they did do it, were not. I mean, look, I'm grateful for anyone to come on, like for anyone, for someone just to show up is in itself very, I appreciate it. But actually, so what I will say is everyone that's been on, I'm grateful for. There were a couple of people who I was very surprised didn't do it. Considering I won't, and I don't want to give too many clues, but there's a couple people who one in particular I'm thinking about who I asked a couple times who, considering the personal relationship, not even relationship, just friendship, I was surprised didn't do it. And I don't know. I mean, again, good person, old friend of my family's, I'll say. But I'm probably giving too much information. But the point is, I'm just surprised. But all the people that have done it, I'm very grateful to, because especially because at the time, I was still building. I mean, I still am building my following and my profile and all that. So for some, especially for people I had no relationship to do it, was a really, I really appreciated it. I hope that wasn't too long and rambling, but
no, and I don't think you gave away enough at all. So we're gonna have a blind item there. I love it.
as I'm sure you've experienced, it's like the ones that you least expect sometimes to not only do it but be like super engaging and nice and everything. Sometimes it surprises you because and then the ones that you expect to be a certain way turn out to be not as nice or not as engaging.
We've had a mutual guest on our shows that was one of my hardest interviews. We'll talk about off air, but
I love to hear about that.
it's surprising sometimes. You expect one thing and it kind of goes an entire different way, but it is what it is. I mean, everyone has their good days, their bad days, and we only know their public persona. And when they talk to them one-on-one, who knows what you're going to get, right? So
that's true.
I hear you.
True.
Can you tease any of your upcoming guests of who you're trying to get on, or that you have for sure? Is there anyone you're allowed to say yet?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I haven't even. It's funny. I actually haven't even reached out to. I mean, I'm friendly with these people, so I'm pretty sure. I mean, I guess I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I will. Who cares? My someone who I've actually become virtual friends with, who I'm hoping I'm going to reach out to him soon. The one I'm referencing, and we talk quite a bit, actually, oddly enough, on social media, is Paul Burrell, who is Princess Diana's personal I guess butler. He was like her personal assistant. I think that butler is the official title. Anyway, I'm kind of oddly enough, kind of a royal, and Diana follower, and so I added him. I followed him on Instagram one day, and he followed me back, and we talk quite often on Instagram, which is so funny. And he came out like 5 years ago. He was married to a woman and had kids, and so. But then he came out, and he's very well known in the UK. Diana called him her rock and everything. So anyway, given all the stuff that's happening with the royal family right now too, I thought that would be an interesting interview. Dorit from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I'm hoping to have on. I'm trying to think. There's a couple others too. I mean, of course, I have my list of dream guests. People like Gus Kenworthy, Carl Nassib, is the first gay NFL player. I'm hoping to get him. Dustin Lance Black, Tom Daly. I mean, there's a list of people that I kind of have a relationship with. Like, I mean, I know Lance. I know Lance Black. I met Gus Kenworthy. I mean, there are a few people like I'm hoping to get on the show. So I'm still formulating, what order they're going to go and everything. But I have a pretty good comprehensive list that I'm working on. But I'd say my hope is that Paul Burrell might be my first guest coming back. So I'm going to get to work on getting confirmed pretty soon.
I love that. That'd be an amazing guest. If we're allowed to put in requests, I think who I've heard you kind of talk about online. And for some reason, I'm way too old to be obsessed with it. But you could have Taylor Zakar Perez on, you
Oh
and I
yeah,
would be best for life, because
that's a
I know
great
you said
idea.
you kind of know him. He's so hot right now as far as red, white, and royal blue. And he just seems like a genuinely nice guy. So if you
He's
can
a
get
really
him, let
and
me know.
what's
I would
hot
be
is
there for
very
you.
quick story. I actually met him like 10 years ago when he was. I had a good friend named Vincent Chase who was a acting coach here in Hollywood. He was one of the old, like he was around. He was like he died about 5 years ago at 88 years old. He was a acting coach back in the 60s and the old studio system era and 50s, and he worked with everybody. Anyway, he was a friend of mine, and he used to have classes at his house where he'd have like a bunch of young actors and actresses in his class, and I would be there sometimes. And I was kind of an aspiring actor at the time, but Taylor would be there, and at the time, he was just starting out, and but very nice, and but like I just there were a bunch of actors there, but I met him, and we kind of hung out, we're friends, and then about 5 years ago. Actually, no, less now, I would say. Like, what, 3 years ago, I'm like reading an article in like Vogue or something, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, like he's like
Right?
he became like a gigantic star. And obviously, I love that he's in this new movie, which is, not only is he great, but it's a great film for a gay representation, and it's a great, huge success too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was great with him
Stephen Fry, my friend Stephen
Um,
Fry,
Uma's
too.
him and Uma's theme scene was like, I think, the quintessential gay coming out line that all of us kind of hope to have, right? So
Yeah.
it was
Oh
a
yeah. Oh yeah. No, for sure.
well, very cool. I'm looking forward to that, Duke. I mean, we gotta not wait 3.5 years next time we have you on here, but
No.
I appreciate you taking the time to come back on. I'm looking forward to it. Let all my listeners know where they can subscribe to your Substack, and of course, where they can find you on Instagram. So when you start doing your Instagram stories.
Thank you. My Instagram's Instagram.com/James Duke Mason. And my Substack is jamesdukemason.substack.com. So and those are the two modes of communication. So
Fantastic. Well, Duke, I appreciate you taking the time. Oops, go
and
ahead.
all my Duke's download interviews, I do eventually put the most of them up on YouTube, but initially anyway, they're done on Instagram Live. So that's where for those of you who want to watch those, that's where you'll find them.
There you go. I like they're all in your reels. I looked at some the other day again, the ones that I missed, because I caught probably you did 50 of them. I think I caught maybe 30 of them, but I tried to catch up on some of them the other day when we were going to be chatting.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks so much.
Oh, no problem. Duke Mason, thank you so much for being on Left of Str8 Show. Guys, we're going to do 5 questions with Duke when we're finished here, so be sure to look for that next Tuesday. We appreciate you coming along, and we'll be back for another interview next time right here on the Left of Str8 Show. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.